Alright, we are back. I have no idea what happened there. I just changed the USB plug round and suddenly it was fine. So we're back. And I'll get a wee tune to start us off. Alright, we're so back now. We're back, we've got our gin and tonics. Okay, so let's just forget that first practice stream happens. What we're going to do today, I've got a gin because it's too hot for wine. It's warm and muggy out. I've just filmed a video, so my throat might be slightly sore, but we're going to go on, we're going to continue. Today the plan is, have some gin, watch me sweat, then talk about the various things that have happened in the past few weeks, including the last video, which was about Keir Starmer, and what's going to happen, and what's initially happening with the elections that's going on. We're going to chat a bit about that, and we're going to have a good time, and since we've got the music working, it's going to be good. No more hiccups today, nothing bad's going to happen. I had to film my video twice because I fucked up both the audio and the video on it, so I am fried, but let's see. Alright, that's a nice one to start off with. Okay, well, we're back. It's been a while since the last stream because I think last time it was just too hot to stream. And by too hot, I also mean just too muggy. So we're back in these streams, and we're gonna fucking have a nice one. I'm really feeling gin and tonics these days. It's going down better than the wine. And I have, crunching. I have been really I have exhausted the Sainsbury's supply of on deal wine over the past several months, so we've kind of run out of new wines to try. So I guess we're just gonna stick with this. Gin and beer time for a while. Maybe we'll see. All right, how is everyone? I should probably tweet out that I'm live. Eh? Give me a second. Where's my phone? Here it is. I always forget to tweet out that I'm live. I'm very bad at this whole YouTube thing. It's not good at it. Let's see. Alright, so I guess gin and tonic on a weeknight. I know. I'm see. It's that sort of rock star attitude that gets you into a position of unemployment. Makes you, if you need that sort of rock star, just having maybe 3 gin and tonics on a weeknight attitude to become a small-time content creator on YouTube. Otherwise, you just won't make it. Yeah, doing as well as we can expect. That's about as much as we're doing. I was at the gym today. I hit a PR. Managed to hit 85 kilograms on the bench, and a guy came up to me, and he said he came up to me and was like, "Oh, I didn't think you'd be able to do that. You look way too skinny to be able to do that." And I was like sitting there like, is that a compliment? I've been sort of puzzling it over about whether or not that's a compliment or not. I'm gonna take it as a compliment. That was quite a funny one from today. I guess we will just get started. We have so Labour Party election chat first, probably, considering it was the theme of the last video as well, and a lot's gone on. And we will also probably talk a bit about various other elections, Joe Biden and how he's doing great, and there's probably going to be some Doctor Who chat coming in later on as well, because I don't think I've spoken to you guys since the finale of the new series of Doctor Who aired, and we always like talking a bit about Doctor Who. Let me just turn that up a bit so I don't have to have it so close to my mouth. Yeah, so first of all, we are in this country under a new Labour government. We are no longer under a Conservative rule. Well, we are under a Conservative rule, just a Conservative rule that calls itself the Labour Party. And like I said in the video, the Labour Party won a massive majority, and what they're going to do with that massive majority is precisely fuck all to change anything, except to make things worse. And it's been very strange seeing a lot of American left, like progressives, talk about the Labour victory as if it was a victory for the left or for progressives. I've seen quite a lot of American progressive figures being like, oh, maybe, why can't we have what France and the UK have? And like, France, fair enough. France, you know, that's a genuinely like left-wing social democratic party that pushed out, like surprisingly, and what a fucking relief they did, beat the fascists. What a relief. A party that sang the International when they saw that they'd won. And you know, that's not everything. They're not gonna turn France communist. Well, we can hope that they won't. But at least they're fucking social democratic. But they are very different from the Labour Party, and it's very strange to see. It's sort of like, it's very revealing, I think, that lots of Americans have been treating Keir Starmer like he is the French victory, like he's Mélenchon, because it reveals that both they likely know not a lot about either party. But you know, let's take an example. We've got several examples. One example where Keir Starmer, one of his first acts was to get rid of the Rwanda immigration policy, which was the absurdly evil immigration policy whereby those who were seeking asylum, those who were refugees would be who were you know, potentially being deported, would be held in Rwanda. They'd be deported by plane to Rwanda to then be processed and held basically in camps. And Starmer and the Labour Party said this was going, in their manifesto they said they were going to get rid of it, and on their first day they have gotten rid of it. But the reason that they've gotten rid of it, like I say in the video, is not because it's evil, but because it's inefficient. It is a waste of money, and there are more efficient ways to be evil, according to the Labour Party. And the things that will replace this Rwanda plan, which has been mired in legal challenges and you know, logistical issues with getting it up and running, including massive amounts of public opposition and great organised work of resistance from very dedicated activists across the country. Instead, the Labour Party are going to expand counter-terror laws to include those who may be not people who have been found guilty, not people who have gone through a legal process to determine their guilt, but people who are suspected of people trafficking. The Labour Party is going to expand police powers to allow the police to treat those people suspected of people smuggling under counter-terrorism legislation. That involves things like detaining them without charge, or cutting off internet access without any charge. All these expansions of police and anti-terror legislation are things that the Labour Party will do immediately. And what makes that so much more dangerous than things like the Rwanda plan is that there won't be any challenge to that in the courts. There won't be any institutional resistance to that via liberal means, such as through court challenges. Instead, we're just going to get an increasing, and not even creeping, just an increasing amount of state police power being used against people suspected of people trafficking. One example of why this is so terrifying, so horrible as a policy, can be summed up by In Italy, there was a group of people who went out and rescued migrants from drowning in the Mediterranean Sea. They went through a 3-year court battle because the Italian state tried to accuse them of people smuggling, essentially. And it was a spurious case. But under this new labour legislation, the chances that someone like that could be caught up in people smuggling counter-terror legislation is significant. And that's not even getting to the people who may just be family members trying to bring their family over, or just people trying to get from different places. So, in replacing the Rwanda plan with this whole network of increased policing and counter-terror demonstrations, the Labour counter-terror policies, the Labour Party may be able to do things more efficiently and probably more cheaply than the Conservatives could ever manage. They may be more successful in their anti-immigrant policies than the Conservatives have managed to be, because the Conservatives were so evil and so stupid about it, and so performative in how they were stupid about it, that they did something that just couldn't get through the sort of liberal institutions. Not our old friends, the Labour Party. They'll try and get the immigrants out much more efficiently. And it's things like that that make it so strange to see people be like, and it's not just Americans, there's some English folk, British folk as well, who are doing this sort of song and dance about, Keir Starmer's he's first thing he's done is get rid of the Rwanda plan. He might actually be quite liberal, quite left wing. No, that's not how it's working. That's not what he's doing. There are other things, immediate things. Wes Streeting, who we talked about in the video. I had people responding to me, several people responding to me in this video, being like, so I talk about Wes Streeting, I talk about how he has a desperate need to privatise the NHS, something he's been talking about and planning for years. He loves it. And a lot of that's a good point, and Ushant Nodat saying, also once Libyan militias sent exiled on the sea, the one who's exiled who can drive the boat or speak a common language is de facto leader and, quote, people smuggler. It's a screen word to penalise exiled. That's a very good point. It's people who are desperate and trying to get across, and maybe who will be penalised. And it's just a way to increase further bordering policies and to make borders stronger and more policed. If we're talking long term, it's preparation for mass amounts of climate refugees that we're going to get. Increasingly, the fascist field that liberal politics is tilling. It's fucking mental. It's ridiculous. So Wes Streeting, I had people tell me that including private options within the NHS was not privatisation. Very earnestly telling me about that many different cases where there's private involvement in the health services that isn't privatisation. And to those people I just think, like, are you distracted by jangling keys? What about this iteration of the Labour Party makes you think that they are not into privatising the NHS? And Wes Streeting, I think today, might have been yesterday, I can't remember, time is an illusion, but I think today gave his big, basically his big first media appearance as Health Secretary, where he described the NHS as primarily a vehicle for producing corporate profits and growth. So, when we're talking about what the NHS is for, this is precisely a commodification and a marketisation of the NHS. That's precisely what he wants to do to it. It's what he has always wanted to do with it. And it is it is quite astounding to me that people are so unwilling to watch it. Do I need to watch the semi-final? I'm not going to watch. Someone tell me if England lose, when England lose, fingers crossed. Someone tell me when England lose, when it happens, and I'll be happy either way. They should have lost on Saturday. Everyone here is on the, I assume, on the not supporting England train. We can't be having England supporters in chat. Just so you know. So yeah, so that's another major thing that has been immediately telegraphed to do. Third thing was this: the Labour Party have announced their plan to do a wealth creation fund, essentially, which is just to do public-private partnerships. And people are so easily tricked or so desperate to believe that good times are coming that they are trying to pretend that this is some sort of plan to create nationalised energy production, which it obviously is not. And so we've got a lot of people being very desperate to try and believe that somehow Keir Starmer's Labour Party is going to immediately stop being the right wing and be left wing instead. Oh God, the most offensive one was they put a picture of a wind turbine on it. Yeah, great stuff. Very, very convincing. One of the most ugly versions of this sort of thing that's happened, where people have been so desperate to prove the Labour Party are positive, was the reaction to Starmer saying that he would review the order review of arms sales to Israel and of UNRWA funding. And people were like, oh God, that's so much more progressive than the Conservatives. It's not. A review on that is a way to kick the can down the road and do essentially nothing until it becomes no longer a politically expedient thing, a politically salient issue. So what he's doing is trying to signal something while doing absolutely nothing. That is going to be a tenor of the rest of this Parliament. And it's great, because what's going to happen is... Wait, if it's just a grant-based energy industry subsidy, why is it called a National Wealth Fund? To trick people. Not just your layperson, but a bunch of economists, including some notable left-wing economists, have been tricked by this plan to set up a national wealth fund for green technology for a while now, claiming that it would be some sort of nationalised energy company, which it was never going to be. Obviously was never going to be. That was never going to be the thing that Labour Party was going to do. And it turns out they didn't do it. They are liars. They're liars about things that are good. Anything bad that they've promised, they'll make sure to keep that promise. So yeah, that's great. And I guess, like, talking a bit about the election itself, what's interesting and worrying is the Labour Party won not because of a mass of enthusiasm about them, not because they have suddenly developed this base that will put the Tories in the ground and the right wing in the ground for years to come. That's not what happened. We just saw the lowest turnout for over 23 years, I think. 21 years, I think. We just saw a terrible, tiny voter turnout, like I thought would happen. This isn't. I promise to stop being so pleased with myself for being right, but it's quite fun. We saw a tiny, like a very small voter turnout, about 59%. We saw percentage vote share for the Labour Party was overall lower than it was in 2017 when Corbyn's Labour narrowly lost. The numbers of votes for Labour were lower than in 2019 and 2017. And 2019 was listed as a generational failure, a generational defeat of the Labour Party. And yet there was about 500,000 more votes for the Labour Party in that election. In that election, this historic defeat, the percentage vote share in England was essentially the same between 2019 and 2024. What changed was Scotland increased its vote share for the Labour Party by about like 18%. And the reason for that is not because Scotland is suddenly on board with Labour, but because Scotland has had its own SNP government for a while now, and that SNP government can no longer separate itself from declining living standards and what is essentially neoliberal governance by the SNP in Scotland for the past 15 years, combined with a whole bunch of scandals, including trashing their supply and confidence motion with the Green Party so that they could do more oil funding and appointing a right-wing Christian nationalist who doesn't believe in abortion, divorce, or gay marriage to their deputy leader. People were suddenly like, maybe we don't want to vote for the SNP because of that, and that is likely what we'll see. Why we've seen some increase in Labour vote share in Scotland. That is not a sustainable model. While it's true that demographically, younger people and not just people who are like 20s, but people who are like 20s, 30s, 40s are increasingly more left-wing. That's something that's happened in terms of social attitudes in the UK over the past few years. That's not going to hold as a translation to vote for the Labour Party, especially if the Labour Party continues to go girl, give us nothing. Instead, what we're going to likely see is a resurgence of the far right. There's going to be analysts have been very quiet about what's happened in Scotland. Yeah, I've not seen all that much. I imagine there's some people. I imagine John Curtis is working behind the scenes to figure that one out. But I think my gut instinct about why there was an increased Labour vote share is that makes sense. I'd be surprised if it was horrendously if it was horrendously wrong. Like the SNP's strategy to be to govern just enough to the left of whoever's in power has finally just basically come home to roost, I think. That's essentially what I think. I mean, talk about John Curtis. I do have a funny story about John Curtis. For anyone who doesn't know, Professor John Curtis is he's like a polling guru in the UK. He's what's called a sophologist. He's a voting behaviour expert, and he's very, very good at basically predicting what's happening and analysing what has happened during elections. He's got a very good reputation for making predictions and being proved exactly right. I went to Strathclyde and was taught by John Curtis for about a year in a very small classroom in my honours year. He's a lovely man, a very good sort of tutorial lecturer. About a year after that course ended, I went to an event. It was an event on democracy and voting behaviours and all that stuff post the Brexit referendum, and John Curtis was there, And I went up to him. I was like, "Oh, hello, John. How's it going? Lovely to. I hope you're doing well." And he looked at me and I was like, he had no idea who I was. And I was like, "Oh, I'm John. I was in your class last year." And he went, "Oh, I have no idea. I'm sorry. I forget everyone." And I was like, "All right, great, thanks, cool." And then I met another lecturer that I'd had several years earlier for like one class, and he was like, "Oh, hello, John. How are you?" And I was like, "Oh, thank you, Mark. I was feeling low there." But yeah, so I think what I think the Labour Party is in a very shaky position, and I worry that in 5 years' time, what we will see is a massive resurgence of the far right, basically, and it will take a lot for that not to happen, especially if Keir Starmer keeps disillusioning all his voters, and if turnout continues to be very low, because why would you vote for them? They give you nothing. On that, we will, I'm going to make a new tune, and I'm going to talk about, I think, why this specific form. I want to talk a bit about a ContraPoints tweet. I know it's low effort, but I want to talk about why liberalism and fascism are so intertwined, and expand maybe a bit on the stuff we talked about in the video. But let's flip up the tunes for a bit first. No beef. It's not beef. It's just. It's not even like. It's. ContraPoints is so distant from me as a figure that it's not even beef. I just thought it was like. It's an odd. There's like odd things people say with regard to what fascism means and why, and like beating it at the ballot box and stuff like that. And it's a useful jumping off point, essentially. Alright, what tune are we going to make? Sorry, I didn't like that. Didn't like that. Let's see. Sorry, I don't like that either. I don't know what's going on. Not getting anything nice out here. Can I throw some Elvis vocal ticks into this one? Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one. Well, let's see. We'll get something eventually. Before we do, just feel free to shove anything in chat to distract me. And we can chat about stuff as well. I don't like it. I don't like it when it's just me sitting here and oh, what do I think about Radiohead? I think Radiohead are a fucking disgrace. It's been years though. It's nothing new with Johnny Greenwood and Radiohead breaking cultural boycott. They've been breaking it for years, and it's a consistent disappointment. And you know it's absurd that they're not allies or comrades. They have consistently broken cultural boycott and should be criticised about it. Radiohead used to be one of my favourite bands. Shocking, I know. But um, the learning of their failure to engage in cultural boycott has been absolutely like I wish I could listen to them more, but I just can't because I just see them as being absolute traitors. Yeah, Oxford people, exactly. No, I think it's excuse me, it's Oxford where Lawrence Fox played that police officer. Should we do something like let's do something easy, some sort of blues thing. Fucked it up, sorry. I do very much like. I really like Alabama Shakes and Brittany Howard's last album. So good. I really, really like it. You are right. You are right, and it is precisely what I very much like it. I have been listening to a lot of Chapel Roan the past few days, though. Past few weeks. I saw Alabama Shakes 12 years ago at Tea in the Park, and they were really good. I'd like to go see Brittany Murphy again, but I'm away to see Emily King tomorrow in Camden, which I'm really excited for. One of the benefits of doing a sort of bluesy thing is it's very easy to do some random bullshit that sounds cool when you're doing a solo. So I'm going to do a wee lick or something, and then I'm going to fill up my gin and tonic, and then we can get back to talking about fascism. Alright, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Disappointed about Sondheim's. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen his opinion. It's never great when you see a. The thing about celebrities' opinions is they don't tend to be good. The best you can hope for is like Mark Ruffalo, and the problem is a lot of celebrities. I mean, it's not a celebrity's job to be well informed. It is disappointing when someone who makes good art turns out to have terrible opinions, but yeah, I don't expect much from celebrities these days, if ever. Oh yeah, Emily King is great. Okay, so with this fucking tune on in the background, I guess let's talk a bit about the thanks for coming along. What's that? Flow Snake. Thanks for coming along. So for anyone who's new as well, the modus operandi for these streams is I drink wine or gin and tonic in this case, make some tunes and just chat about things, oftentimes related to the previous video, the next video, or things that have just generally annoyed me recently. So right now we're about to talk about a tweet, and then we're going to talk about liberalism and fascism, which is related to the last video, and then we might talk about Doctor Who in a bit. So ContraPoints tweeted out recently, and the purpose of what we're talking about here is Mooncat. Margot Catgirl say, "Hey John, first time catching a live stream. Can I ask your opinion on Mooncat? If you know them, I've been binging both your videos recently." I love Mooncat. I know we've never met in the flesh, but we've chatted a few times. She's extremely talented. I wish I could do what she does in terms of her video editing and her music. I was meaning to message her because one of the things that I would like to do once I need to get some refunds from a conference I did, which should come into my bank account in August, and then I won't be on the fucking breadline for as much as I am right now. And at that point, I want to maybe invest in a new camera, or maybe get one of those like square drumming pad things to make your own drums. And I was meaning to message Mooncat to ask easy those are to learn and how easy they are to incorporate into a stream. But yeah, love Munka. Great stuff. Wish I was as good at editing as she is. But that's not what you come to me for. Absolutely. Yeah, Richard, so like the tunes that we make in these streams sound like video game tunes. With the synth pedal that I've got, which is a fucking delight. It sounds either like Sonic or like a video game, or like this sounds like a straight to video fucking action movie from 1987, and that's brilliant. I love that. What a great time. You're gonna have to not make fun of me for a second, because it is getting too hot, and I'm gonna have to take off the shirt, and I'm gonna look silly. Yes. So we were talking about yes. So this ContraPoints tweet was talking. She was talking about how the anti-electoral left haven't achieved anything, or there's no achievements that you can point to as an anti-electoralist, whereas you can point to lots of achievements that people who vote for it's a very commitment to the late 80s vibe, isn't it? There's lots of achievements pointed to for politicians, because they can point to things, and we need to actually do things like vote for whoever, Biden or Kamala Harris, to stop fascism. And I thought there was an interesting sort of thing to talk about there. I mean, first of all, like in terms of a construction of an argument, that doesn't work, because sans revolution, any sort of push towards a goal will always be enacted by the political class who enacts it. So you can always point to that. It doesn't mean that those are the ones that achieved it, or it doesn't mean that anti-electoralism is not just sitting back. I mean, it's not even not voted. Like, you can be anti-electoralist and just sort of quietly vote if you want. Nobody actually gives that much of a shit. Anti-electoralism refers to refusing to organise and within the structures of those political parties as a means to achieve your goals, and that means get involved within those party structures. And the reason that anti-electoralists say don't get involved within the structures of those parties is because that takes up time that you could be doing other things. So it's already like a weird false dichotomy thing going on. I know it's so strange without a flurry shirt. So that was weird. And but what I think is worth talking about, and I think what a lot of people have been missing regarding like what fascism actually means, is when they say things like, "Oh, you're voting Biden to stop fascism." You're not. You're not even voting Biden to delay fascism, really. You're voting Biden to maintain the conditions upon which fascism can arise. Because the way that liberalism, and especially neoliberalism, works is to specifically reinscribe and reaccumulate gender hierarchies, racial hierarchies, disability-based hierarchies, ability-based hierarchies. And those hierarchies are essential and productive of fascism. And they are combined with a neoliberal style of governance, which increasingly, and this is a very well established feature of neoliberalism that's not that contested, increasingly makes political decision making much more distant from democratic control. So there's an authoritarian streak to neoliberalism. And we've talked about this on the channel before. And these two features connected together are the things which are productive of fascism. They are the field on which fascism can grow. The seeds planted in that place. So when people are like, oh, to be anti-fascist, we need to actually be involved with organising within the political party structures to get Democrats elected, they are not doing anti-fascist work. they are doing work which is productive of fascism. And I find that very frustrating, and I find that very frustrating when people don't understand that as a feature of fucking politics. I don't even think... So I disagree with the notion that that it is negligent to not use voting. I don't think that is... I don't think that's consistent. I don't think that makes sense as a political argument. Because one part of voting is not voting. Not voting is a political choice which demonstrates particular things, and we have a good example of that in the UK at the moment, where people deciding not to vote with a very low turnout is a political statement. It's a statement which tells the political class that people are disengaged and do not care about what you're offering them. It means that there is a particularly difficult and unsteady political base to whichever party wins. If turnout goes up, turnout goes down, these are meaningful things. And not voting is as much a tool as voting is. I don't agree with the notion that it is that voting either like I don't think that it's necessary that you have to vote, that you have to not vote, that you have to vote in particular ways. I think these are low cost actions that people can basically be involved in, but I don't think that people not voting, especially if people have taken take a principled stance of not voting, I don't think that is a negligent political act. I don't think that is a failure to engage with the system or anything like that. I think it is in itself a political act, in the same way as spoiling your ballot is a political act. Spoiling your ballot and not voting are not really that distinct actions. I voted for the Green Party in my constituency. Barely, I was swithering between spoiling my ballot and voting Green. I ended up voting Green. Really, they're similar. The end result of those actions is similar, in that they both communicate a disillusionment with the main parties and those parties that can actually win seats. It's the same sort of people who are like, oh, you shouldn't waste your vote on a third party. It's not a wasting vote, it's a political communication. And I think that's a valid expression. And if the Democrats or Republicans or whoever, the Labour Party, want people to vote for them, it's not on the people who are not convinced by them. It's not their responsibility to vote for them, it's the responsibility of the party to convince them. That is a very base level feature of liberal democracy on its own terms. And on a base level, do not believe that you owe a political movement or a political party your vote. And the very fact that people think that you do is one of the things that allows them to get away with shit. It's one of the things that allows the Labour Party to be like, oh, Muslims vote for us all the time, so we can be deeply Islamophobic and it won't matter. And what happened is that the Muslim vote for Labour collapsed, largely because of their their policy on their shit policy on Gaza, the fact that Starmer has been has justified genocide, and that is an act of political communication that vote collapsed. And if that vote had never collapsed, if those Muslim populations and voting blocs had decided, well, we have to continue to do this, then there would be no political communication ongoing there. They would have still won. The Labour Party would have still won. But what? What would have happened? It's nothing. The notion that you have to vote for this particular thing, for this particular way is I think a very limited, very limited view of democratic engagement within liberal democracy. anti-electoralism may not mean you're against voting, but that there's a lot of very vocal anti-electoralists who are against voting. I mean, again, there's also a very strong, very committed group of people who are against voting on a political level, and I think that's also fine. That is a legitimate political expression within a liberal democracy, to be like, I refuse to engage with this. And if you think about it this can be very legitimate within something like a settler colony, where perhaps indigenous groups might not want to legitimise the settler entity by voting for it. And there are particular ways in which, and there are particular instances where that happens, and where indigenous populations don't vote because they don't want to legitimise a settler institution, and that is fine. Anarchists might not want to legitimate the political, the liberal political system, and I think that's also fine. I think these are all political expressions, which, I mean, the fact of voting is that it is fundamentally an individual act. And I find the way that it is simplified into a for and against team sport reduces what political communication actually happens when people vote. And when people attack others for not voting as a principle, they are missing the point entirely, and they are obscuring what's actually going on. I live in Belgium this year, and a new political party was born called Blank, with their single stance being proper representation of blank votes, which is a neat idea. Yeah, that's fun. It's an interesting and fun thing to do. You don't owe a party a vote. Voting is a lever of power, and not using that power is negligent. Not voting is the least effective way to communicate. I don't like you. I mean, I fundamentally just disagree with that. There are many ways in which you can, not voting is not a negligent way to do that. It is a political choice that people make, and it is a completely legitimate way to do that. A collapse of voter turnout is indicative of a collapse in consent to the system, and that is a very real political, and it's not just about political parties, but about a loss of faith in the political system itself, and that is itself a communication that is worth being made. I think that if this Labour election had been even lower turnout, that would have been even more risky. And it would have been interesting to see how these different political parties would have reacted to it. And I think that is a valid form of political engagement, to not vote. If you want to send a message, most of these people do direct action. We all do direct action in some sense or another. Well, a lot of us do direct action as well. There's the notion that it's just anti-electoralism, is just not voting, is just untrue, and a lot of people who are not voting are deeply politically engaged as well, in their communities and doing lots of things. I find the discussion that there's a moralistic I'm surprised you'd say voting is an individual thing. That individualising of political engagement strikes me as being similar to how neoliberalism tries to isolate political actors. I mean, voting is in itself an individual political action. It's an individualised form of politics. That just is. It always has been. That's not a new argument by me. That's very standard liberal. We live in a liberal bourgeois democracy, and it operates in liberal bourgeois ways. One of those ways is by voting, which ends up being a very necessarily individualised kind of kind of function. It doesn't mean that campaigning is necessarily individualised, but the actual act of voting tends to be, well, often is. It's designed to be. Campaigning and actually voting are obviously distinct things. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely disagree with the notion that you can coordinate voting strategy. Yeah, but I mean, frankly, coordinating voting strategy has historically been something that is very, very difficult to do, and ends up being more effort than it's worth. Like, a lot of the time. With coordinating, as in like, beyond just campaigning and getting people out to vote, which is often just activating people who already have a individual view to do, but like to actually coordinate, like especially things like tactical voting, extremely difficult, extremely difficult to do, and I don't know how worth it is. Yeah, you kind of, yeah. That's a very good point, that coordinating that level of action can only happen on the back of actual movements, and that's the kind of thing, isn't it? You need an actual movement, not a, like, as nice it is as the Green Party did okay in this election, they are not going to be an actual movement, and I don't think they will. I've encountered the framing of voting as a preferred adversary and not a leader you can actually endorse. See, and I think this is another very common and I don't think very good argument, because, so, and I tried to speak about this in the video a bit. So take the Labour Party first of all. We're talking about a preferred enemy. Would you rather be up against the Labour Party or up against the Conservative Party in terms of shifting policies? Well, what actually happens, and has historically happened a lot for the Labour Party, is instead of being dragged left by or producing left-wing results by a very good, like by the union movement, what's happened is that the Labour Party, as it's become increasingly institutionalised and bureaucratised and embedded within liberal political, like the liberal political world, is that it has dragged the labour movement right. It has brought in one of the ways that New Labour managed to institutionalise neoliberalism was with the consent of the unions, where they softened neoliberalism. They brought in all this anti-union legislation. They brought in all these all these regressive policies, and the labour unions were like, okay, we'll do some negotiations internally, but we have to support this because the Labour Party is an expression of our movement. And what ended up happening is neoliberalism just got embedded and institutionalised with the consent of the labour unions. You end up not having a better enemy to drag left, but you end up having to fight people within your own movement to be like, hold on, these people are not on our side. We have to criticise them as much as possible. We have to be against them as much as possible. And you saw that with, you see that with elections all over the world. Anytime there's like a centre, I'm going to call them centre-right Democrats versus right-wing Republicans, centre-right Labour versus right-wing Conservatives, and so on. You are told we cannot criticise them that hard because then the right wing will win. And so it's not like you're fighting, you're choosing your it's not like you're choosing your correct enemy. You're just dealing with a different set of circumstances. It's not as if one is easier and one is harder. And there's another good example of in the Conservative Party. Michael Gove was perhaps the most receptive to changing housing regulations and housing laws and rent controls any housing minister that we've had in decades. No one in the Labour Party will have that. There is no Labour Party housing policy that will get close to what Michael Gove, arch right-wing, racist, Islamophobe Michael Gove was offering in terms of housing. So who are we fighting? Who is the preferred enemy there? I don't think it's as simple as that. Yeah, it's just like they're all very common arguments, and I think the reason why it's so hard to break out of them is because it is the logic of this, like, the electoral system that we are essentially brought into. We are told we are legitimized every single day. We are told every single day that this is what we have to do, and we are born into this sort of legitimized role, and it takes a lot of work to be like, hold on, is this true? Is this actually true? The thing that gets me about the choosing adversary angle is that the party that loses the election doesn't go away. Yeah, it's that was sort of beyond what I was wanting to talk about. I was just kind of wanting to talk about the the ways in which neoliberalism produces fascism, but we got into some electoral stuff there. Let's change up the tunes and then talk about someone else. I can't remember what. Maybe Doctor Who. Maybe someone else. I can't remember what I was going to plan on talking to next, but if anyone has anything in chat that they want to discuss as well, always shove them in. What kind of tunes are we wanting to go for? Don't think this will last very long because it's a bit repetitive, but that's quite fun. Hi Duncan. I this is not directed at commenter, but it's strange how people like my name's John. Do people think my name's like my first name is Duncan? It's just John. John's good. You can call me John. John, JD, either way. Duncan feels weird. But hi Duncan. Good morning from Australia. Good morning. We did the same thing as you, and we're almost as fucked as were under Scott Morrison. Great stuff. It's nice to see everyone, people around the world, just fucked as well. Ah, fuck, have England won the... Did England win the semi-final? That's so annoying. Well, it'll make it all the better when England lose at the final. It's unbelievable. Sorry, we're going to do a football chat for a second. Unbelievable that England have sort of stumbled their way into into the final. They've been absolutely shit the whole fucking competition. They've just been shit. They've stumbled there. They should have lost to Switzerland. They've absolutely lucked their way into it. So we can just hope. Is it Spain that's in the final? We can just hope that England lose in the final, and that'll be even sweeter when they do. And if they do, I'm gonna be absolutely insufferable to all my English friends. Yeah, I mean, Spain are probably better. Spain will win. That's all we're saying. Spain is gonna win. I was invited to go watch the final with some English friends on Sunday. Before we knew who'd be in it. I might just be too hungover to go. I don't want to be in a pub full of English people if they win. I just don't want to be. The opponent being better hasn't stopped them so far too, right? Yeah. God, what absolute... Yeah, Keir Starmer's England, exactly. That's exactly who they are. No, you don't want England to win. England fans will never accept that they won badly. They will. If England win, it will be so insufferable. You absolutely don't want. Don't want England to win. No way. As long as England don't win, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I'll keep telling myself that. Let me just check what the score was. I was hoping for it to be better news, unfortunately. Oh god, did they win the 90th minute goal? God damn it. So annoying. Spain will win. I'm saying that to myself. Spain will win. Look, in terms of voting, if you, no individual, like in terms of the US, it is not up to the people who are unwilling to vote for Joe Biden, who has been facilitating genocide. It is not up to them to suck it up and vote for that. It is up to the party to convince them that is something they should vote for. There is no moral condemnation. I would never morally condemn someone who could not vote for a man who has been facilitating a genocide. Gladly facilitating genocide. Like, there's no way that you can morally condemn someone for not being on board with that. That's a basic level. But yeah, England will lose on Sunday, and that's what we're hoping for. What will we get onto next? We've talked about voting, England, unfortunately, winning. We'll say stumbling their way to the Euro finals. They will lose. Everyone just has to believe that. And I guess we've not talked about Doctor Who yet. We'll talk about Doctor Who. I'm going to change up this tune because it is getting too much repetitive for me. And then we can chat about Doctor Who. I'm just going to do a... is Doctor Who chat going to contain spoilers? Maybe, probably, to some degree. I'll try not, but we'll see. Nothing against England, but I want to watch Lamine Yamal to win the final. I have something against England, so that's fine. The thing is, it's just so annoying if they win. That's just fundamentally what it is. I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a... I'm going to do some just easy building it up in a very very standard John channel way. Okay, so it sounds a bit like a national tune at the moment. That's so silly, and I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep that silly. That is... Oh yes, and how's it going? That was a very, very silly track. And it's going to stay on for very long because I like it a lot. We're just about to talk about Doctor Who. Good stuff, relaxing for the night. I might get rid of that last guitar track though. There we go. That's better. That's easier for talking to. Yeah. I've never played Animal Crossing. Does Animal Crossing have bangers like this in it? All right. Who's seen the maybe I should play Animal Crossing for the bangers. The general consensus in the commentariat seems to be that the best way to head off I'm not sure. Sorry, Tesseract Washington. I'm not sure what the question is. I'm afraid you might have to rephrase that before I can answer. All right. Before that question is rephrased. So I want to talk about that final series of Doctor Who because what got me about it is that, for anyone who's not, I'll try and do spoiler free. It felt like there wasn't enough series, there wasn't enough episodes, and I think that the Disney money that came with making it only 8 episodes is what really hamstrung the series, because a lot of it made no sense. Like, in terms of character development, you had all these... I'm not sure how much I'm actually going to be able to talk about this, because a lot of it was fine. Like, the episode 73 Yards, great. That's one of the best episodes of Doctor Who I've seen in a long time. The Boom episode, great. But a lot of it felt like, I think we're going to have a problem because this sound is maybe too loud. That might be better. So I think a lot there was an issue. So there's only 8 episodes this series, which meant that a lot of the time that you would have to get to know the Doctor and the companion was just gone. So all of the big sort of character growth of the companion, Doctor Who, I didn't see a single surgery exactly. There was no real ability for character growth. We just got told that character growth happened. Like, there's a moment in the finale where the Doctor says to his companion, "You're my best friend, and you've allowed me to talk about my family in ways that I've never spoken about before." And you're just sort of thinking, wow, where's that coming from? Because we've not had time for them to actually really chat to each other. In one of the episodes, the Doctor wasn't there, and it was one of the best episodes. Like the 73 Yards episode, the Doctor just basically wasn't there for the whole thing, and it was great, but that meant there was only 7 episodes where the Doctor and the companion could talk to each other. Then in the other episode, the one with Jonathan Groff, the one with there's the Doctor and the companion are basically separate for the whole episode. So again, you're like, well, you've not really had much time to actually get to know each other. Then there's a third episode which is told from the perspective of another character, basically an alien character, and the Doctor and the companion only sort of appear on screens. So that's 3 episodes of the 8 that you don't really get to explore their dynamic. And so 5 episodes to really sort of see any character growth. Where 2 of them are the finale. So 3 full episodes where you actually get to see their character growth over the series before the finale. And you're like, that's not enough, really. You don't really get that. I hate it when the show gets shitty because they cut it short, probably for financial reasons. So I've not seen the... Is there only 7 episodes of The Acolyte? I've not seen the latest episode yet. I'll be interested to see what that... I'll probably watch that after this. You'd think if it was shortened, they'd only keep the best parts. See, Doctor Who is the sort of show where a filler episode is good. It's useful, because a filler episode you get to, like, explore the character growth, and it's often a silly story, but it's fun. You get good character moments, but that's good. And cutting the filler episodes, cutting 4 episodes out really hamstrung it. So, like, okay, for anyone who doesn't want spoilers for Doctor Who, sign off now. I'll give you a 5-second countdown to sign off, and we will only talk about this for at most 15 minutes. So if you come back by 22:35, we will be done with this. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, gone. Okay, so assuming anyone who doesn't want any spoilers, the final episode circles around like ignoring that, like, the villain being a big dog is very silly, and ignoring that the solution to the episode makes 0 sense. Why would killing the big dog through space bring everyone back to life? Ignoring that shit, whatever. That's story issues. that could be ironed out with a better story. The way that Ruby Sunday, the companion's arc, was completed felt really flat to me, because the sort of culmination of her arc is they've spent so much time investing her mother with so much importance, and again, ignoring that, why is this 15-year-old in 2005 or whenever wearing a cape? Why does she point in that way to that? Ignoring a lot of that stuff that doesn't make sense. Ignoring it. The culmination of it being, okay, so Ruby Sunday has placed all this importance on finding out who her mother is. And then the Doctor has also, and through that the Doctor places the importance. And through that sort of investment of importance, this becomes a super important thing for them. It doesn't, I'm not sure it makes sense necessarily, or I mean it makes sense, but it doesn't hit as hard why Ruby Sunday places so much importance on finding out who her birth mother is when she's got such a loving family at home. I'm not sure why they made that choice. I don't think it's bad, but it's an odd choice to make to try and accentuate that point, because it's just a bit odd. But the sort of culmination of that is, oh, she's just normal. So I've invested all of this importance in someone who's actually just normal and will never live up to my dreams. But the payoff to that is sort of hinted at with the Doctor saying, maybe you should leave this person alone. And Ruby Sunday just goes, no. And immediately talks to them, immediately accosts them in public, and sort of invests this moment with importance. And you're sort of just left wondering, so what was actually learned in this? What was the character development here? Did she stop investing this person with importance? Because it seems like she didn't. It seems like she's still expecting her to be her mother to some degree. And it just felt very like a very flat sort of character ending. It just felt very weird. Yeah, it felt, Googie Ham saying, it felt kind of weird that they started out with this nice message that her adopted mother was her mother, and then spent the rest of the series saying that her biological mother is super important. Yeah, it felt strange, and I don't think it necessarily would have had to. I think that it could have possibly been the case that, like, oh, you know, she could have reflected on that, and that could have been like something interesting to do. But it wasn't reflected on. It was just kind of left, and I feel like that is one of the things that was kind of dropped with the time in the series. And there's like bits and pieces about that are like of the rest of the series that are odd. Like, I think very clearly the episode with Jinx Monsoon, with the music and everything, which I thought was bad. I thought that was a bad episode. With like good moments, but was not a very good episode. That was clearly out of order. Like, it was clearly in the wrong place in the series. It must have been originally later on, but for some reason was shunted up because things didn't make sense. Character interactions didn't make sense in that episode. That was very strange. And the reveal of this like Sutek character was very odd as well, where there's like they spent all this time, oh, who's this strange thing that's appearing out of nowhere, who's this one who waits, and then an anagram, and it goes Sutek, and you're sort of like, okay, I don't know who that is. I don't know why that's important. Sure. Okay. And I just felt that fell really flat to me as well. Especially when it was like, there was a line when the Sutek monster says like, "Oh, the doctor ignored all the signs that I was there," and I was like racking my brain like, what signs? And it turned out the only sign was like one moment in the musical episode, and that was it. And so it's just like, what? And how does the doctor being like, it's like, oh, the doctor was too arrogant to notice. The doctor was too arrogant to notice this stuff, but was the doctor being arrogant something that was played up in the series? Because I don't think it was. I don't think it was like a character flaw of I don't think it was a character flaw of the Doctor that was explored through the series, or something that he'd had any conflict about. So it felt like just a very strange dig that made no sense. Like, oh, the Doctor's arrogant. And you're like, is he? I guess so. It felt like it was doing the Last Jedi thing about her parents not defining her, but there was too much focus in the series to really work. I agree that it was doing the thing about her parents not defining her, and I think that's good. I don't think the thing that made it not work was that there was too much focus of it in the series. Because I think that could have worked. I think that what made it not work is that post the reveal that she was just normal, and that the thing that made it important was them investing all this importance. That they were just like, okay, we invested all this importance on this 15-year-old child that she never asked for, and we're going to learn nothing from that. That's what made it not work. Not the fact that because they could have spent the whole series focusing on her, and that would have been interesting to be like, oh, we made a mistake here. It wasn't on us to invest this 15-year-old child in with all this importance. My buds on a Doctor Who Discord server thought it wouldn't make sense if you hadn't seen Pyramids of Mars, which seems to be corroborated here. Like, I didn't know who this character was before. I think someone saying I find all the deep cut references to the classic series odd. You'd think they'd be trying to make it accessible to new viewers. Like, I think if you've got a series like Doctor Who that has such a big mythology and so many interesting things to draw on, and you have deep cut references, I think that the way that those deep cut references have to work is as something you can draw on to tell new and accessible stories, not as something that people have to have seen for something to make sense. So I think the Sutek stuff could have worked fine, but the way it was telegraphed to us as if we should know it was very odd. Alright, we'll draw Doctor Who chat to a close so that anyone who wants to come back in 2 minutes will not have any spoilers. But as we wait, I will get one final gin and tonic. I wish I had a Scottish accent. Okay, just practice. I'll be back soon. Oops. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry, that was too loud. Yeah. Final comment on Doctor Who. No spoilers. But yeah, the problem, I think, again, because Russell T Davies has done this before and done it well, I think it is the lack of episodes. I think that the lack of time in building those things up really hamstrung it. Let's get, what is it? Nearly 11 o'clock. Let's get our last tune of the evening going, and then any questions or anything else in the chat, anything else you'd like me to cover tonight, shove it in the chat and we'll discuss it after I've made a new tune. Say goodbye to the disco frogs. So sorry, too loud again. Sorry, too loud again. There's no activating and deactivating the loops. It is just it's just all layering up. My loop pedal's not one of those ones that you can take stuff off and then put it on again. It's just building it up. But yeah, it's a loop pedal, got a chorus pedal. There's no whammy bar, but it's a chorus pedal that essentially does the same thing. It's fun. Welcome to the live, Molly Cuddle. Yeah, that's the name. Yeah, this is what we do. We're drawing to a close now. We'll give it another 10 minutes, but yeah, that's what we do on the lives. We make some music, we chat a bit, and we talk about videos and whatever. We just finished talking about Doctor Who. And I drink wine and gin, and I'm not being... With the wine, I tend to get slightly more belligerent. I'm not very belligerent this time as well. So yeah, great. Welcome to the stream, and I hope you come back at another time. Yeah, so I guess I can talk. So I finished filming a video today, and it should be out. It's a very short video. It should be out for patrons on maybe Friday, but maybe tomorrow. It's a review of a book by Richard Wolff and Stephen Resnick, which goes into how Richard Wolff doesn't seem to have a basic grasp of like Marxian concepts. You know, he's a great communicator and has done some very good current affairs work. But this is the first book of his I've ever read. It's called what's it called? It's Class History and Theory. It's a class history and theory of the USSR ostensibly. But we're not getting in the review. We're not getting into the sort of class theory of the USSR, and instead we're going to talk about how his use of Marxist concepts is bizarre. Yeah, hopefully it's very. I'm one of the things I need to do on this channel is produce more content because to survive you need to do that. But I don't want to produce more content at the expense of that content being good. So one of the things that I've done, doing, this is the first thing I've done, is using book reviews to make videos, and that way I can maintain some quality stuff while also being able to produce some content. So I'm still working at this point on the family abolition video, and that will be the next book review for patrons, which will continue to go. Patrons will still get access to book reviews earlier. And via just posted there. But the next book review is going to be on a book about the neoliberal effects on the family that Abby Thorne recommended to me. Oh man, oh god. The book review is the sophisticated beef video. I specifically say I'm not beefing with him in the video. I don't want to beef with Richard Wolff. It is bizarre though. Just got back from watching your response to the Mr. Botticelli. His sycophantic fans are really something else. Yeah, that was bad. I've just come off about a month of consistent harassment. Firstly from Destiny fans about how he's, a genocide denier, and then and that was something else. And then a few weeks after that, some figure, I don't know, some right-wing film YouTuber or something, found an old video I did about Shrek 2 being gay, which is a fun video I made for Pride last year. It was just a bit of fun, and did a big response video to that, which has meant that for like I'm still getting like a lot of my comments for the past month have just been homophobic abuse, which is great. It's calmed down mostly, but it was like a month and a half of pretty solid, pretty solid abuse, unfortunately. So we're moving on from that. None of those people. What really got me about that, people being mad about Shrek, was they were all like, "You're taking this too seriously," when I was very clearly not. I was very clearly having a bit of fun. But also, the one bit of that Shrek video that I did take seriously was my discussion of the romance of the rose, and how that plays into like fairy tale narratives. And I did research for that, and none of them gave a shit. I got no comments on the romance of the rose aspect of Shrek 2. They were all just calling me the F slur. Just, you know. If you're gonna abuse me, at least try and pay attention to the stuff I actually do care about. It has slowed down a bit. The abuse has slowed down. It's mostly, most of the time now it's just Keir Starmer fans being mad at me about calling Keir Starmer a fucking wet wipe. But it has calmed down. Hopefully, so this is the plan moving forward, to try and produce some more videos so that I can survive without going too far into unemployment, because the job market. I got 3 job rejections in one day last week, which was great. I got rejected from a job I interviewed at Cambridge, and I was like, oh, that's a shame. Shame I didn't get that. It would have been nice. And then 2 hours into that day, I got another rejection from a different university, and I was like, oh my god, two rejections in one day. And then about an hour later, I got a 3rd rejection, and at that point I laughed, because you're getting 3 job rejections in a day. That's just funny. I'm afraid that's just funny. But the reaction to the 3 job rejections is me going, right, I need to actually get my foot out and start making some more shit that's not shit. Am I looking for more postdocs at the moment, or teaching positions? Both. I don't have any. My ears got a bit mad. Don't have any actual research ideas, unfortunately. So any postdocs would have to be postdocs that were other people's research that I'd be involved in. But I'm not turning my nose up at anything. My one hope, my supervisor currently has an application in for a ecocide funding, where there would be a postdoc role which I could go for. That is my biggest hope so far. Would be if he gets that funding and I can go for that role. And working in ecocide would be a very interesting area. I think I would like to do more of that work, and I think there is lots to be said in terms of my specific academic interests of social reproduction theory, and alongside, social reproduction theory and genocide alongside the sort of ecocide frame, which would be really good. But we're fingers crossed for that. And that would be a while yet, so we need to survive until then. Yeah, hopefully. It was a good application, but we'll see. Alright, it is coming up to 11 o'clock. I will draw it to a close here. For my closing out music, I'm going to put on the track that I have been fiddling about with in Ableton for a little while. And I will, as ever, leave the stream running throughout that track. And yeah, so thanks for coming along, everyone. I hope that nothing got too heated during the electoral discussion. I wasn't intending that to get so heated. I hope everyone is okay. I hope we all managed to chill. I think we all managed to chill here and have a nice time. And if you're new here, I hope to see you. We normally do these on Thursdays, because but I couldn't do tomorrow because I'm going to see Emily King tomorrow. So the next one should be in two weeks tomorrow. They're normally every 2 weeks and on a Thursday. So with that, I will start off the Ableton tune that I'm working on, and I will say good night. And thanks for coming along as ever. 1 second. I should have had this queued and ready to go, but it's taken its time to load, and there we go. It's still loading. This is the slowest this has ever taken to load. Alright, I'll put on the opening scene, and once this is ready, I'll set it on. There we go. See you later.